Welcome back. This will be part 4 of the character rigging tutorial series. Last video we discussed how to create the torso joints for the character. This video we're going to talk about how to create the legs, or the joints for the legs. So from the side view we're going to do the same thing we set up for the joints. We're going to create our joint tool, and I'm going to come in here and click on an area. If I click and drag, I can drag where I want this joint to be. I don't want to place this right on top of my pelvis joint. But I'm going to click and drag, and this is going to put this in the center of the grid. But what I want to do is just try to get a vertical position for this. And if I look at my wireframe, my pelvis joint is going to be about right here. So this is actually a pretty good vertical position for this. I'm going to still leave it in the center of the body for right now. But what I need to do is just go ahead and have a vertical position and kind of a center mass position of where my pelvis is going to be. So we'll kind of position it right there. That's going to be my pelvis joint, or not my pelvis, sorry, my hip. And what I'm going to do is create one leg, and then we're going to mirror it over. So this is going to be my hip joint. I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate this joint and move this down to the knee. So when I come in here, I want to put my knee joint in the center of the knee mass, right there. Okay. But what's important is if I move this up, that the knee is in front of the hip. We talked about in the first video, making sure our leg is bent forward, and that's going to be an important part. So the knee needs to be in front of the hip. I'm going to hit Control D, and I'm going to move this down to where the ankle is going to be. So let's see, let's look at wireframe. Yep, probably about right there, right around this loop line right there. There you go. All right. So with these three joints, the hip and the ankle need to be behind the knee. If you have toes, you can follow a very similar process that we'll do for the next video with the fingers, but I don't have toes for this character, so I'm just going to hit Control D. For the foot, we need a couple of joints. We need one for the ankle. We're going to need one for the base of the toes, so allow the toes to wiggle. And we're going to hit Control D again. We're going to need another one for the end of the toe, something like that. And then I'm also going to create one for the heel. Okay, so the heel is going to be about right there, something like that, so that we can rock all on that heel. Okay, so some skeletal rigs are not going to have the heel joint, but I think it's very helpful for more complex foot motions. All right, so we're going to create joints. We duplicated them. Let's go ahead and name them so we can understand what they are. So this is joint. And we're going to create other indicators. This is going to be the left hip. So J underscore capital L underscore for left, and we'll say hip. So when we have two sides of the body, we're going to say joint left knee. Okay, and I'm just going to do a capital L. J left ankle. J left. This is kind of what's called the ball of the foot. So ball. And this is going to be joint left toe end or something like that. Joint left heel. Okay, we'll come back and create some other joints for the foot later, but those are our basic ones. Okay, so we have our leg joints created. We need to go back through and start rotating our joints so that they are facing the next joint down. Okay. So I need the hip to rotate so that the x-axis, or sorry, the z-axis, which is kind of hard to see right now, z-axis is this vertical axis, is following the angle of the knee. So I'm just going to rotate this forward some so that the rotate z-axis for the hip follows in the direction of the knee. I'm going to go to our knee and make sure that knee z-axis follows in the direction of the ankle. There you go, like that. So that should be rotated back. The ankle is more of an omnidirectional joint, so if anything, we can rotate it so it follows the ball of the foot, but it's not going to be too big of a deal. So we'll kind of leave it like that. The ball, we're now, since we have 90-degree angle, are rotating the y-axis. What we could do is kind of rotate these joints so that this is the z-axis, but it should still work properly for us. The toe end, we're not going to adjust that, and the heel, we are not going to adjust those. But it is important for the hip to follow with the z-axis down to the knee. The knee z-axis follows down to the ankle. The ankle, we switched it up so the y-axis follows to the ball of the foot, and the ball y-axis follows to the toe end. All right, now we're ready to parent up. So if I click the toe end, control click the ball of the foot and hit P for parent, the triangle or taper part of the pyramid should go to the toe. If I select the ball of the foot, we're going to then go to the ankle and hit P for parent. Now the heel is kind of like another digit. This is not an anatomical joint. This is a joint that's going to be like a helper joint for proper motion. So some of these joints are anatomical, some of them will be helper joints, and this is going to be a helper joint. So if I go to the left heel and control click on the ankle and hit P for parent, that heel is going to be a child of the ankle. Okay, so it's going to look like that, kind of like a heel for a shoe. The ankle, I'm going to hit control click to the knee and hit P for parent. The knee, I'm going to control click and hit the hip and hit P for parent. So there's my leg structure from the hip down to the toes and the heel. Okay. Now, that is a line from the side view, but if I go to the perspective view, scale down my rotate tool some, it's at the center of the body, so that's not going to work properly for me. What I want to make sure I do is from the front view, we'll make sure we go to shading, X-ray joints. We want to make sure that the leg is situated properly from the front view. So, but look at this, I got some bow-legged going on with the body, so maybe I want to make an adjustment to the geometry here as well, so that way I have more of a completely vertical leg. It is a not good idea to go over here and kind of move my joints out like this. That could cause weird rotation and movement of the leg. So instead, I want to try to maneuver my leg so that it is more of a straight leg with less bow legging, if you can do that. So my hip is going to be right here. So what I need to do is, from the geometry standpoint, I need to go back to soft select, and with vertex mode, let's come in here. Maybe select, whoop, might need to turn off my joints for a second. So if I go to show, joints, and now if I drag select, that should be all right there. So maybe one less. Okay, so turn on our joints back on, show joints. It is going to auto try to select joints before it tries to select geometry. So what I need to do with the volume is have a high enough volume so that way I can kind of move my leg in so that my knee follows the same position as my knee geometry follows the same position roughly as the center of my knee joint there. So we'll do that. Maybe we'll back down a little bit somewhat. So let's do this again. Show, turn joints off. Select those, show, turn joints back on. And we'll move this so that that's the center of the face. Oh, what I didn't do is turn on symmetry. So let's go back. Turn on Object X Symmetry. Turn our joints back off. Select upward here. There you go. And we'll see joints. Move these all in some. There you go. Looks pretty good there for the knee. Let's turn our joints off. Come down here and let's see if we can select, that'll work, the lower leg or the foot area, and move the foot in some. There you go. I might need to come over here, like up a little bit, and kind of blend some of these back. There you go. What we need is a full straight leg here from the front view. That's going to cause issues if we don't have a straight leg. So sometimes we have to manipulate and change the geometry as we start rigging so that way the body will move as we intend it to. So that's pretty important before we move forward, that we move the geometry and not move the joints side to side. What we don't want to do is take a joint and move it like this. That's going to create bow-legged knee motion. It's not going to look right. Go to side view. I think I've got, let's actually turn my wireframe again. Yeah, I need to move this joint one loop down. It's too high. This is the center of the knee. So to do that, I'm going to hit Shift P on the knee to unparent and Shift P on the ankle to unparent. And then now what I can do is move this knee joint down one to right there, and then get my rotate tool again. Make sure that is back rotated towards the ankle joint. There you go. All right, so now I need to move my knee joint down one to the center of the knee. So let's do ankle to knee, P for parent, knee to hip, P for parent. All right, so now that we've made those adjustments, the leg geometry is corrected, and our left leg joint system, with the hip being the root, is positioned on the left side of the body. So the only thing we need to do now is just to mirror this joint over to the other side. We have everything named, and we just need to now parent our hip joint to the pelvis. So select the hip, shift select the pelvis, and hit P. So if I hold down shift on that plus symbol in the outliner beside pelvis joint, we can see the hierarchy. This hip is now a child of the pelvis, just like the spine 1 is a child of the pelvis. So when you select the pelvis, it should select all of the joints for the body that we've created. If it doesn't, then you don't have it parented up properly. So I'm gonna go back and select my left hip joint, and to mirror these joints over, I just have to select the left hip joint, the joint that is connected to the center line of the character, which is the pelvis. So the left hip joint is selected. I'm also gonna make sure I have my name set up, so I have a capital L for the left side, and then within this mirror tool, it's gonna allow me to rename the other side right hip, right knee, right ankle. So I'm gonna select the hip after I've parented it to the pelvis, and go to skeleton, mirror joints, but I'm gonna go to the box beside it. And one thing I want to change is I want to say, it says replacement names for duplicate joints. Search for a capital L, replace with capital R. So that way I have a left hip, left knee, left ankle. When I duplicate this and mirror it over, it's going to change it to say right hip, right knee, right ankle. So let's just click apply and see what direction it's going to do here, because we have 3 mirror across directions. So let's click apply. So that definitely wasn't the right axis. That mirrored it across the Z axis. So let's undo. It's going to be YZ. So let's do apply. There you go. So that was the right axis. I can undo that and show you XZ is not the right axis. It's going to mirror it over the Y axis there. So we need YZ, which is going to mirror it across the X axis. So if I do mirror, it's going to match the exact position, just mirror it over to the other side. It's going to replace the capital L in the names with capital R. So if I hit the plus symbol, now I have joint right hip, joint right knee, joint right ankle. So that way I don't have to do any renaming or positioning or anything. It does all that mirroring for me. Now if you have an asymmetrical character, I would still suggest mirroring over the body joints and then making your adjustment to the position and rotate of the asymmetrical elements of the character. When I do the mirror, it already parents it to the pelvis joint as well. So if you click the pelvis, it should select both the left leg and the right leg at the same time. All right, so our lower legs, our lower half of the body, the legs are set up for us in our joint position. The next video we'll come back and talk about how to set up the joints for the arms and the fingers.